Hello, blessings and greetings, beloveds. It's me, Lori Ann Spagna, here with you today to chat briefly about the conversation about who do you serve and who do you stand with, who stands with you. And also we're going to do a download on divine discernment, so stick around. So what I want to offer today during this time of radical change, which is about to accelerate again in the next few months, is the topic area about who do you serve? And we want to make it clear that as we go into this, it's perfectly acceptable whomever you serve. It's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly fine. It's a free will choice, whomever we serve. And it's just the reason I'm offering it today is so that you can know whoever you align with and whoever they serve. So what I'm saying here is not everyone is serving the same. And not everyone wants to serve the same. And since this is a free will reality, you can serve whomever you choose. And you can align with whomever you choose to align with. It's just that it really helps to understand who you're aligning with and who they serve. So, and this is very relevant, especially if we came into the realization in the year of 2020, who's serving whom. This would be very, very helpful to us. However, going into the future, it's going to be equally important, more and more, to know who serves whom and who we choose to align with regarding who's serving whom. So let me get a little more clear about this. There are 5 categories on Earth, and it doesn't matter if the person is a human or a humanoid, if they identify as a star being or an extraterrestrial, or if they even identify as a non-human, such as an animal. Everyone is serving something. And there are 5 categories on Earth of who they might serve. And the 5 categories I'm going to go through now. The first is the one I align with, and that is service to the light. Now, when someone says that they're in service to the light, not just because you're a light worker doesn't necessarily mean you're in service to the light. In service to the light means you are consciously, deliberately aligning with and serving God's source creator, the one true God of lighted creation, or the one divine source, or Mother, Father, God, or the all that is, however you want to choose that. Some people use the word spirit, although I don't use that word because there's lots of spirits in the world. But the one true original source of creation and all that is, all that ever was, the original source of consciousness, that is the one that all that is. That source has a plan for lighted creation. And we are all part of that plan. Everything that exists here is part of that plan. But not everything that exists here and not everyone that exists here is serving that plan. And that plan is a plan of consciousness, of awakening, of love, of peace, of harmony, of joy, of wellness, of prosperity, of unification. So that source is a source of infinite omnipresent consciousness. Now, if one is serving that source, as I am, that means we are deliberately, consciously aligning our will with the will of that source in service to that source and its plan of lighted creation. And our goal in aligning with that source is to develop, in part of it is to develop the virtues, the attributes required to serve that source. It's not an easy path, and it's the smallest path on Earth right now. When I say smallest, what I mean is the fewest number of people on Earth. I'm asking if that's true. There's one other group that's perhaps smaller, which we'll come to. But that is a very small group of people on Earth relative to 8 billion people. Then we have the second group of people, and none is better or worse, actually. They just have different agendas, different purposes. The second group is those who serve the greater good. And this is growing to be a much larger group. Many light workers and healers, many coaches, spiritual teachers, entrepreneurs are in this group, especially those who tend to be aligned with doing more good works in the world. And they're serving the greater good. And usually those people and beings are generally doing their best to do good works in the world. Now, this third group is the smallest group of all, I was just told. And that is the group that serves the balance. They serve the balance. So these beings who serve the balance are, generally speaking, very, very non-emotional. They have almost no emotion. They have very high capacity of knowing things. They are very comfortable doing what we would call dark or evil, but they are also very comfortable and skilled at doing what we would call good or right. They are serving the balance, and their job and role is to serve the balance. An excellent example of someone like this in the non-physical is Esmeralda. If you're familiar with Esmeralda, she is an ascended master. She serves the balance. So she has lots of dark and lots of light, and she uses them to serve the balance between light and dark in the game of duality. In the physical world, humans and various star beings who walk the earth, who serve the balance, there are not many of these beings, but if you are interacting with one of them, for a very short time, I had a teacher who was like that. And this being was very comfortable and capable of doing very cruel and mean things, what we would call mean. Mean is kind of like a judgment word, right? And very harsh things to serve the balance, but also equally capable of doing very kind, loving, generous things to serve the light, but ultimately serving the balance. So you just want to know, because those people are very perplexing to be around. It's hard to understand that. It's not common in our reality. And you can get very hurt around them if they believe that that serves balance and their purpose in serving their role in serving the balance. They're very challenging to be around, but very, very advanced and highly skilled at what they do. Oftentimes these people are remote viewers, and very oftentimes they work with technology of various kinds. Okay, now let's go to the next group. The next group is those who serve the ego. They serve themselves, and their interest on planet Earth is to serve themselves and their own personal agenda. And these people, we see these people in public situations very frequently. They do tend to rise to power. They do tend to make a whole lot of money, not necessarily, not always, but they are serving themselves and their own agenda. They do tend to have excellent PR teams around them that seem to make movies about them or sway public interest. They're learning to sort of manipulate public interest to make the public perceive that they are serving the greater good, because they understand through service to self that they have to appear that way. And there's no wrongness here, because the reason they serve themselves, the people who serve themselves, is because they were raised in a society they were raised by the next generation. I'm going to explain the earlier generation. I'll explain the last group, but they learned that they had to survive. And so in order to survive, to make money, to make a living, to produce for their children, to have a nice home, to have the nice car, and all the things that they were raised to believe they needed, they had to serve themselves. They just were raised in that society. Those people are typically just not yet fully aware that there's another way, but they're learning. And there's no wrongness here. We're not making any group wrong. They typically do function from fourth dimensional bandwidth and denser. So they have a lot of density, and they can't break through yet. For the most part, they're not really able to break through what we would identify as a fourth dimensional consciousness. Again, no wrongness, just part of what exists in reality. And if we don't understand these 5 groups, then we can't use our divine discernment. The 5th group is those who serve the dark and the dark agenda. And the dark agenda is to extinguish the light, which would really cease existence as we know it. That agenda is an agenda that is based on darkness. It utilizes it very much utilizes that which we would call evil. It has deliberate attempt usually to cause harm. It's usually consciously aware of its deliberate attempt to cause harm because it's an attempt to extinguish the light. It works in secrecy, conspiracy, piracy. It works in the shadows. It is dishonest. It does things to be fraudulent and phony. FAU, faux, fake, deliberate attempts to sabotage, to cause harm. Not always entirely deliberate. Sometimes malicious. These are the things in the dark, right? And it serves the dark, and it's self-sabotaging, secrecy, coercion, attempting to usurp free will, which is, as the higher realms have given to me, the definition of evil. Attempting to, because God's will is free will. So that's the dark agenda, and in a nutshell. And so you kind of need to understand these 5 agendas so that you on earth, a being of free will, can know with your free will choice who anyone you interact with serves, and any group or organization that you go to or involve yourself with, what that group or organization is serving, or any event that you attend, right? There's a consciousness. Even geographical locations, they serve a consciousness and an agenda. So it helps to have divine discernment to understand these. So we're going to do a download of divine discernment, but just before we do, I want to add another piece to this, which is that any group or being or individual who serves one of these 5 areas will have beings who stand with them, beings in the non-physical. So let's start with the one who serves the ego, the self. They will have the least number of beings typically who stand with them. They may have some loved ones who have crossed. They may have some guides. We all have guides. And they may have various beings of light who might stand with them. But most of the time, those beings come and go and aren't around them all the time, because the being who serves themselves doesn't need those beings or isn't asking for their help. And therefore, the beings aren't around them that much. They have the least number of beings around them in the non-physical. And you can learn how to find and see these beings. Of course, this is what I teach. This is a huge part of what I teach, or one part of what I teach in all of my classes and workshops and retreats, to help people to know this stuff and to have the discernment about this. Let's go to the other group on the other extreme, those who serve the dark. Typically, who stands with them are beings, shadow beings, entities, demonics, beings who are malevolent, with malevolent intention, beings who want to cause harm. In many cases, we could call them negative, some of them negative ETs. Those beings do exist in non-physical. A lot of times they have entities around them, and these beings who are with them are working with them in serving the dark agenda. I could go on, but I think I'm just trying to cover the basics. Now we have the third category of beings who serve the greater good. And these beings who serve the greater good, humans, they're many of the spiritual teachers in the public arena, and coaches and guides and healers. Many light workers are in this group. They serve the greater good. They're still serving themselves, but they're serving the greater good. And this is wonderful. This group is getting larger and larger on earth. And this group has many beings who stand with them. Every individual, based on who you call in. Lots of angels will come to these beings, because people who serve the greater good often call in angels. Not always. Each being, each individual, it's based on who they call in, because they're serving the greater good. But since they're not yet serving the light, there's not a ton of beings with them necessarily, because, again, it's all based on free will. So they have to choose, to call forward the beings in the non-physical. But they do typically call in angels or other beings in the non-physical to support them, depending on how progressed they are and how often and frequently they work with beings of the light. Some of beings who serve the greater good, will tell you only do it yourself, don't work with any beings. And I understand that. It just means they haven't fully embraced the light and the non-physical and how it can serve. And so they're teetering somewhere. Maybe they have trust issues with the non-physical, or they just don't know, or they haven't interacted yet enough with the non-physical, with beings of the non-physical who serve the light. Nonetheless, if you're serving the greater good, chances are you have called in. If a person is serving the greater good, chances are they have called in for some kind of help, support, assistance, or guidance from the non-physical. These beings could also attract beings of density who are not necessarily serving the light. So this category requires, in some cases, the most discernment. In some cases, is the most challenging area, because they're serving the greater good, but they haven't necessarily, some have, some haven't necessarily developed their ability to not attract beings of more density who might want to be, sabotagers, hitchhikers, entities, interference, from the non-physical. So this is an area where there's a lot of discernment required. And then finally, you have the small group of beings like me who are serving the light. And typically, beings like me who serve the light will have legions of light beings around us, who include angels, benevolent beings, star family races, animal kingdom members, so many beings in the higher realms, ascended masters, beings from various offices and star family councils and intergalactic councils, and all kinds of beings, ascended masters, divine goddesses, crystalline consciousness, animal kingdom consciousness, so many beings, because they in the non-physical want to serve the light and have an agenda and desire to work with beings such as me in the physical world who desire to serve the light and the agenda of the light. So when you understand these 5 categories, and you can utilize your discernment and your free will choice, because you have a right to choose consciously who you want to work with, who you want to live in harmony with. You can live in harmony in the dark. Someone who loves violence and violence on TV, violence in movies, wants to collect handguns, that's where they live in harmony. There's no wrongness in this reality. You have a choice of where you desire to serve and who you desire to align with. But if you don't know that these 5 categories exist and you don't understand them, a person could accidentally align with something that is not really of their conscious free will, because in the dark they could be manipulated, coerced, lied to, deceived, and they could make wrong choices, incredibly, potentially unhealthy choices that would ask them to take things into their body or through their skin, or to give parts of their body through some sort of genetic testing or something, for example. And you might not really know that what's being done there, for example. So just by sharing this information, I think it can help people to understand this is real. We live in a multidimensional reality, and these options exist for you. You can choose the dark. You can choose the self, service to the self. You can choose service to the greater good. You can choose service to the balance, and you can choose service to the light. And you can choose to align yourself with beings who are choosing those as well. But you do need divine discernment to tell the difference. Now, I'm going to do a download for everyone on divine discernment, and my great honor and privilege and joy to share that with you. This will be a healing and an activation. I just want to say, for those of you who want to learn more about this and who really want to develop your gifts to discern the difference and to be able to see and know who stands with anyone, who stands with this being, to allow yourself to know who stands with any being and to use your divine discernment, please head over to lauriespagna.com. This is where, that's my website to help you to get involved and learn more of this. So I do lead sacred retreats, and of course I do events, live events. And the next upcoming event where we do this is the impromptu channeling event I'll be leading online via webinar. If you head over to lauriespagna.com under the live events tab, you'll see impromptu channeling and healing event. The next live event is coming up on February 21st via webinar. I'd love to have you join us. And of course, that's where I get this information, because I'm not aware that this information is available in any book, what I've just shared here. To my knowledge, it does not exist in the physical world yet until now, really. So we get this information by accessing the consciousness from the higher realms beyond fourth and fifth dimensional reality into the really multidimensional reality with these beings of light who are here to serve us by sharing information, intel, guidance, energy, activations, healing with us. And one of the places that I do that, in addition to the retreats, is the impromptu ascension channeling and healing event that's coming up, sorry, as I mentioned, on February 21st. So I would love for you to join us then and there. Again, you can head over to lauriespagna.com and scroll down under the live events tab to see that impromptu channeling and healing event. Love to have you join us. And if you're not ready, for that, that's okay. You can just head to lauriespagna.com. Lots of free gifts, amazing free gifts to help you with this and to help you to awaken your spiritual gifts, talents, tools, abilities, and also to assist you on your ascension journey with real, effective, grounded information and energy and guidance, divine guidance, channeling, wisdom, and healing for you to support you on your journey as you're awakening. Tools of the light that serve you in a grounded way in your physical world. I hope that's helpful to you, and I'd love to see you. Lots of great gifts. DNA activation gifted there. Some great stuff for you and your animals, helping you to awaken for you and your animals. Great stuff to help you learn about your starseed races and the ancestors and the descendants and how that's all linked together, and healing for you and your animals too. So head over to lauriespagna.com for those free gifts as well. I love to share them with you. Okay, so now let's do a download. I'm going to play with some of my recent fun toys that I've been unpacking since my stuff just recently came out of storage after a 3-year hiatus. And I'm having fun with these things. So as we go into this download on divine discernment to help and to support you, start to take some deep, long, slow, and relaxing breaths. Identify the breath as love. And if it's safe for you to do so, allow yourself to feel that breath of love as you're breathing it in. Allow yourself to let your eyes start to close if it's safe. And this will only take just a matter of a few minutes, not even more than 3, probably. And start to let your brain relax as you're taking in these breaths of love, eyes closed, and feel the breaths fill up your body. And with the breath, sink down into your heart center. If the brain is thinking, skepticizing, if that's a word, or if the eyes are open, looking or watching, that's kind of an energetic interference of receiving. So if you're able to really allow the brain to stop thinking for just a few moments by breathing in more divine love and letting that love put your body into a state of homeostasis for just a few minutes, no distractions. And really feeling that love as you breathe it in and relax the body and drop down into the sacred heart space just by really just feeling all those thoughts, opinions, and judgments really just fall down deep into the center core of your multidimensional heart space. Just relaxing the body. And let's just have the infinite omnipresent source, one true God of lighted creation, Mother, Father, God, all that is, however you identify it. Infinite omnipresent love, infinite omnipresent consciousness, infinite omnipresent awareness, infinite omnipresent peace, that original source of all that is, all that ever was, and all that ever will be, bring to you now, with your consent as you breathe, divine discernment. Everything you need to know about divine discernment, what it is, what it means, how to have it, how to embody it, how to live your daily life with this divine discernment. To know that you're capable of it, worthy and deserving of it, and that it's possible for you to have divine discernment and to live your daily life with divine discernment. And that you have and embody the energetic frequencies and vibrations of divine discernment, that you utilize this divine discernment, that you embody this divine discernment, all in the most benevolent, best ways possible, of course, for that is the agenda of the light. And that this divine discernment is fully integrated in and through you in your embodiment, all with and from source consciousness, truth, point of view, perspective, understanding, and definition of divine discernment. Now, if it is your desire to receive this, you must receive consent and allow if you so choose. Take a long, slow, deep, relaxing breath again and just breathe it through. Accept, receive, and allow it if you so choose. Let me get out of the way. No matter where you're listening from and no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, no matter when it is, throughout all time, space, dimension, and direction now, breathe it in, receive, accept, and allow this divine discernment if you so choose. And allow yourself to become vibrationally harmonious with this divine discernment through your free will, choice, and consent now. And breathe, receive, accept, and allow as it fully integrates in and through you the gift of divine discernment, all with and from the divine source, where it originates, where all things originate, where you originated. And as you accept and receive and allow this, recognize it through your breath, just being aware. You don't need to know how it is or works. You just need to be aware that your consent is accepting, receiving, and allowing it. If there's any mind chatter, just breathe another breath and drop deeper into that heart. Just let your brain and thoughts, as if you just drop down into that sacred heart space, just let it. With the source of all that is, we know, as we have asked, it is done. And as you have received, it is done. Let it be. And allow it to integrate in its own unique divine timing for you, your body, your being, your life, your living, what's good, right, and appropriate, in accordance with your most benevolent best. Let it be done. It is done. It is done. And we give thanks now. Breathe in one more breath, this time of divine gratitude. Gratitude anchors it in, energizes it, and amplifies it. Let it be. And so it is. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm going to leave you with this beautiful sound. And I hope to see you at lauriespagna.com and that you'll join us again for an upcoming event. In the meantime, please do share your feedback. Hello, I'd love to hear from you. I'm sending you lots of love. Okay, bye-bye. Farewell.